Hi, I'm Greg Yulin with Reynolds & Reynolds, and this is Connected. Today's exciting. I get to sit down with Jeremy Reardon. He's the service production manager at Westside Lexus in Houston, Texas. Jeremy was one of our winners at the Automotive Amplifiers contest earlier this year in Washington, D.C. Jeremy, thanks so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Yeah. For sure. So, Jeremy, you are, like I said, at Westside Lexus, and you guys are a big store in Houston. Give a little scope for everybody listening. Kind of size of store, especially as a Lexus store. Pretty big facility you have down there.
Yeah, very big facility. So our facility currently, we've got 112 bays in our facility. There are 78 lifts total, and I'm at 62 technicians currently.
Nice. Okay. And what's your volume look like, and how is because you run a group of teams, right? So you do teams for your shop.
Right.
What's your output look like? How many ROs, and do you also separate out quick service, or is that all part of your full shop?
No express service. That was always a big thing that I was never a fan of. I would always get good technicians that come in and tell me they were stuck on the express rack and never got the opportunity to come in the shop. So that's not the main reason we don't have it, but no express centers. So yeah, we've got 16, about to be a 17 team in here, and there's 4 people per team, lateral support. They've got a team leader, level 2 tech, level 3, and then either a level 4 or an intern that's working with them. Currently, in the shop, I've got 9 interns that are working in the shop. I've got 3 that are in the valet position right now, ready to get their foot in the door back here as soon as we get an opening.
Nice. So that's actually a really good jumping off point. We can just dive right in. So you said 9 interns, 3 valets. So talk a little bit, and we can come back to maybe the recruiting process, because you talked a lot about that at the Amplifiers contest, and you've been kind of publicized even in automotive news for what you're doing there. So I want to come back to the recruiting process, but let's dive into your comment about the interns and the valet, because you do a lot also with training internally, promoting internally, bringing people in really at the ground level and training them up, building them up, and growing them. So you have, I think, and I'm hoping you share some details on really the formalized program that you have to do that.
Yeah. So depending on where they are coming in the school, whether they're high school or college, depending on their background experience, they may start off in a valet position. They could start off in my parts department or even as a cashier, BDC. So they kind of get an opportunity to see everything within the department, how everything runs. But I don't limit them to that. During their downtime, I will assign them a team leader in the shop. So, if they want to come in when it's slow up front or anything, they can stop by, work with their team leader. So they get to see a little bit of everything. They get to see the start, the middle, and the end parts of everything.
Yeah. Do you have a standard rotation that you do? So is it, you spend, some portion of time as valet, and you're going to spend some portion of time in the BDC, which is also an interesting topic, getting into the BDC and what that can do for a person. But, do you have a standard rotation?
Normally I will rotate everybody, the students in particular, on basically every 3rd semester. So I'll kind of rotate them around. The reason is with our T10 program that we work with, they go 8 weeks on, 8 weeks off. So 8 weeks in school and then 8 weeks here on their internship. So that way they will, and the rotation varies. It's not just between the different departments, but also within the shop. So say if someone is in the shop and they're working with a team, they get 2 of their periods here. So 16 weeks total plus their after school time spent with one team leader. Then after that, I move them over to another team leader. So you're getting a different team leader, you're getting a different advisor to work with, a whole different team. And again, with 60 plus technicians here, you get, make those friendships, those bonds within the dealership, which is very important.
Yeah, and I imagine they get to see, diverse ways to solve problems too, right? Like that's I think one of the neatest parts about being a technician is, there's so much problem solving that goes into it up front. It's not like, it's not like we just kind of turn wrenches, right? It's the real work happens. The real work happens in figuring out what's wrong, and everybody approaches that differently and finds finds answers differently. So I'm guessing that's probably a big value as well, that you realize when people do stay on, they just have a diverse perspective on how to attack problems.
No, absolutely. Yeah. So they get to see the ins and outs and hear things from the customer, and they'll see things. And myself included, whether it's something from engine clips or anything, I tell the customer or the technicians how important it is to check things like that. Because if you go park around the corner from our building, you'll see a customer pull down the street and they stop and pop their hood and they don't know what they're looking at, but they just spent $3,000 and want to see someone put their hands on the car and took care of it. So even if it's, everything was done under the car, wipe the engine off. That's what they're looking at. So they see that, and I like showing it to them. I'll send them pictures, and hey, here's someone down there. Customer popped the hood and had a smile on their face. So, shows we're doing a good job.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. Talk a little bit. So you mentioned it briefly, and I did want to come back to it. Talk a little bit about the BDC too, because that's an interesting area to put your kind of up and coming technicians into. But I'll just leave it completely open ended because I'm curious why you put them there.
So our BDC and cashiers are kind of grouped together. So they're kind of on a rotation as well within their team that they have. And they get an opportunity to see the very first touch with the customer. So what they're calling in for, understanding the concerns and being able to have the right questions to ask the customer. So if they do have a concern, we obviously have different scripts that are there for the BDC to ask the customer and go down that road as far as any issues if they have a noise. So they kind of understand where we're getting at. And once they get back here, it'll give them a better insight as to, hey, you know what, we did this, but maybe we should also be asking this or asking that. And it helps us build on that word track that they have.
Yeah. And do you find also that it helps them as they progress in their career to get work sold? Obviously you're going to rely on your advisors to actually sell that work, but the technician's got to provide a lot of detail to the advisor, right? They have to provide those tools to the advisor to sell. So have you found that customer communication, that customer interaction has helped with communication at a minimum between the technician and the advisor later on down the road?
Yes, for sure. Even leading into the videos that they take on the cars, because they'll even as the valets, they're the, but even before, well, I guess before the phone call, they're the first touch out there on the drive and the last touch on the drive. So if that customer's walking out to the car and they have a last minute question about it, then they understand those things, because something maybe they're glancing at their RO and don't understand something. So they kind of get those little things, and it sticks with them because it does show on their wording that they put in there. I really noticed some of these guys that come in, they do really good jobs describing all the work that's being done or why it needs to be repaired. Even inside y'all's the descriptions for recommendations that are in there, they'll have me go in and change things like, hey, why don't we add this in there? Let's make it sound like this. So again, it's easier for everybody. We work with them all, and yeah, those ideas are what makes or breaks you sometimes.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, at the end of the day, you got to get a yes to get that work done, right? You're spending the time to do the inspection and do the diag, and then you got to get that customer to say yes. I mean, so it's an important piece of it. You mentioned videos. Do all of your techs do a video inspection every single time, or how do you utilize that?
We're getting on that. We've actually, this month, I think is probably one of our better months. We're just over 1,000 videos that we've got so far. So there's been a lot of ideas that they've been sharing with us and different things, because everyone's always a little bit nervous to speak on the videos. So they've actually found there's doing captions. They like putting captions in there. So when they go up to something, they'll add the captions down in the bottom. And also, some of them have done the recording where they walk around the car and do the recording, not talking, it's muted. Then they'll hop in the car where it's quiet and basically do a voiceover on the video. So they'll talk and explain it as they're doing it. It turns out very professional. So those have seemed to gone a long way. So a lot of those guys have been helping, and so we're getting there, trying new things. Just everybody's going to have a different way that's going to make them comfortable, whether they're talking about it or doing the voiceover or doing the captions. It's just finding their comfort level and finding something that's going to work with them. With the amount of guys that I have here, and especially the tenure that we have, got a lot of guys that have been here quite a while. So it's always hard to get those changes in there. But if we can find something that works for them, normally will work for the rest.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And it really does seem, at least from what I've seen, you can give me your perspective, but it really does seem that having those videos, it makes such an impact on, on getting that work sold. And then, even if it gets declined the first time, right? Having that video to go back to, when you're following up with that customer, or they have the video to go back to, so that they remember what you're talking about, right? If we're talking about brakes that need to be done, it's like, I can't do it right now, but a month later they can, making sure that they still have, I'll call it pain, but you're just reminding them of this is why this needs to be done. It can make a big difference and have a big impact.
Yeah, no, for sure. One of the things I think I shared at the event that I tell my guys pushing towards the videos is they'll recommend an oil leak, say, hey, you got an oil pan leaking, and I'm like, man, that's great. So the customer brought it in complaining about an oil leak. Well, no, why? Well, first thing the customer says, if you've been in the advisor's shoes, is, well, I don't see anything on the ground. Well, it hasn't made it to that point yet. So just show them where you're at. You're getting to that point where you're going to see something, because if they're not coming in complaining about it, they don't know that they have it. So picture's worth a million words.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. All right, Jeremy. So let's take a step back. Sorry, we got way down. I knew that was going to happen. Right, we were talking before we started recording. I said we're going to go down these rabbit holes, and we went down one right away. But I want to take a step back, and I do want to talk about your recruiting process and how you bring people into the shop, because you've said, that you have, would you say 62 technicians right now? Is that what you said? Yeah, 62, and a big percentage of those, 40 plus, I think, you've brought in basically out of high school or college. So no professional experience as a technician before.
Yeah. So 70% of the shop is all what I'd say is homegrown. They've started out in high school or college. And kind of like we were talking about earlier, there's not really a special sauce to it, just participating with the schools, being there, going to the different committee meetings that they have, not just showing up on that job fair day with your handout saying, gimme, gimme, gimme. You want to participate. You need, the schools need us there. They need their input. And, we're asking for these students, and you get them and they don't like the way they're being trained. Well, you have a big part in that. Get out there, go talk to them, invite them out to the dealership, let them see, even from the counselors, or if you have a parents' day, which we invite the students and the parents out, invite the counselors and principals, and they kind of get to see the whole workings of the dealership. We take them around, show them everything from start to finish, and really opens their eyes. And then following up afterwards, I said one of my techs came out of high school, and his first year full flagging was in top 10 in my shop without going to college. So he was a rock star, and we had a big event for all the top 10s, but I made sure I shared that as well as some of the pictures and different things with his counselor, his instructor, and his principal.
So talk about.
Thank you.
Right. No, absolutely. And it seems like that is so important, because you're recruiting the technician, you're recruiting the student, right? But in a lot of ways, you're also recruiting the people that are influencing them. I think that's as important, likely, if not more important, to open those doors, because those are the relationships. Ideally, you hire them, right, and you have a long-term professional relationship with them. But at a minimum, you have those long-term relationships with the faculty at the school, with parents, and they kind of influence and guide their, the person, the kid that's going through the process at that time.
Yeah. No. So. Funny story, actually, we had a parents' night here recently for one of the high schools, or for one of the school districts. And one of my techs that went out there, his mom ended up showing up out there, and she was talking to some of the students, talking about his process growing up here. I was like, man, I'm just going to sit back. I can't do much better. So, yeah, no, it really does. It makes a big difference bringing them up. Again, having the parents here, if they have something, one of our techs made world-class master. I brought his mom, and out here for when we had a big party for that. So yeah, just keeping them involved along the way for sure.
Well, and I would imagine you really opened some eyes as far as the career potential that there is being a professional technician. I mean, certainly for I'm assuming some parents when they come into a shop, and you guys have a beautiful facility, right? You have a newer facility, so show that thing off too. But honestly, I've been into a lot of stores. There aren't very many stores that don't look good, right? That aren't clean, that don't have great equipment. Like everybody has these things, and being able to show that off, and I think it can really open eyes for, especially for parents to go, oh, like this isn't a dingy, dirty kind of place. Like this is really nice stuff. It's a great work environment. It's a great physical facility, and there's great people that are here. Do you kind of get that reaction a lot, or do you notice that, or do you not even see it anymore? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of it is referrals that
Okay.
comes through. But yeah, you definitely build a good relationship with the schools and the parents, and then the students that weren't a year behind them. If they're in high school and they're a senior, they got their way in here, and then the next guy's behind him and he sees where he came from. So you get a lot of referrals that way. Same thing with the instructors. Again, they're generally the ones that are going to be reaching out to you. And a lot of times you hopefully are getting those guys before they even make it to the job fair. So, if you wait that long where they're coming around to the job fair at the end of the year, you probably already missed some of the key players in the shop.
Yeah. So you've been doing this for a while. Thinking back, or maybe if you're somebody that is new to an area, right? New to a city, or new to a role, just got promoted to service manager or something along those lines. So you don't have these relationships yet. Where do you start? Right? Do you just start cold calling schools? Do you start what do you do? How do you get that ball rolling? Because I would imagine you probably have a pretty decent flywheel going at this point, where, to your point, you have word of mouth and you have referrals, and you have these relationships already. So it's probably not as much of a difficult crank start as what maybe somebody that's new to a role or new to a town or something like that might be.
Right. Yeah. Originally, when I first started out, I mean, it was one school district and one college that I was working with, and then just I saw such a success out of that and started reaching out to other ones. And just so happens I ended up moving, and in the area I was at, I reached out, got right in the door there, and they welcomed me because they had no one assisting with them, and reached out to another district, and then it was just one after another. And yeah, I mean, everybody's surrounding us. We've got really good relationships with them. You know, again, taking care of the students and them just bringing them in, whatever we can do for them. But yeah, I think right now reaching out to them, getting in touch with either the counselor, they'll have a CTE instructor, normally somebody that manages over that department, and just reaching out to them one way or another. The phone call and email, whatever it takes. Some of them are a little bit tougher to get into. You'd be surprised, even though they need people there. It may take a while, but continue to reach out. It definitely pays off.
Yeah, no, that's great. That's great. So, Jeremy, one other thing I wanted to get into. There's a million other things, but one thing that I wanted to get into with you. I don't remember if I was reading it somewhere, but I had picked up on something you were talking about, annual reviews with technicians, and I wanted to hear from you, your thoughts on that, the process, the importance of it, how you handle it, because I think it can go a lot of different ways, and I'm a firm believer that they're valuable. So I want to hear your perspective and how you handle that.
Yeah, so we do annual reviews, not based on their year. It's just done at the beginning of the year. So starting in January, we'll start going through that. And one of the things I always ask them is to bring something to the table for me. I want to be reviewed just as well. Whether it's something that we need to do different, a process needs to be different, equipment needs to be repaired. You want a paper towel holder put over there, just anything like that. It all makes a difference. But bring something to the table. I want something back that you want to see improved upon. So that's always very helpful. But more importantly than not is if they bring something to the table, get it done. Yeah, that's more important. That shows that you're listening to them. And I say paper towel holder because for some reason, I always seem to get paper towel holders somewhere, and it may seem the silliest spot, but I'll see that thing and I walk by it one day, and next day it's completely gone. I'm like, oh my gosh, they really did need a paper towel holder there. But like, yeah, it makes them more efficient, and whether it's less steps for them walking this way or that way, whatever it is, it's saving time and it's making them more money and just showing them that we're listening.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. So in your review process, what are you measuring? Are you measuring efficiency? Are you documenting areas for improvement? Are you calling out things that they do well? Like when you think about the technician, and there's a lot of pieces to that job, right? There's a lot of things that they do. Are you measuring? Yeah, I guess that's the biggest question: is what are you measuring? What are you grading on? How are you delivering that?
Honestly, as far as performance goes, flag hours, I'd like to not measure on that and solely base everything. Honestly, it's probably less than half, if even a third of what we talk about during our review. It's really just about them bringing themselves up. You want to improve, you want to make yourself better. Obviously, you want to talk about money. So let's find out what's going to get you there. What have you done? What are your successes been? What does your last year look like? We've obviously got different tiers, foundation, senior, master, technician. Well, you want to progress in your career. What have you done to get there? So we'll look at their transcript and see, Lexus has a transcript on there, and see, all right, how many tests have you completed this year? Oh, you've only done one. So yeah, we've got a ways to go before, we're able to move up to that next class, or your next level. So yeah, really just kind of turning it on them. I want to help you, help me help you. Just show me what you've done. Bring something to the table. And we try not to obviously wait till the end of the year. I don't want review to only be them focused on the money part of it when we sit down. So we try to make sure nothing is a surprise to them when we sit down. It's something you want to talk about throughout the year. If it is their performance, you need to talk about that instead of waiting until the end of the year. So, but yeah, your classes, signing up for classes, where do they want to be next year? Their recent moves, showing improvements on their moves that we've made. So if they shuffled from one team to another team, what their improvements were that they've seen over that. And then normally at the end, kind of the same as I ask of myself, I will bring the three guys in below the team leader, and I will ask them, well, as far as your team leader, what would you improve there? And then the team leader comes in last, and we kind of talk about everything together and make sure it's constructive. There's nothing that's coming down on anybody. Again, it's with that many people sitting down doing that many reviews, you want it to be constructive and professional, and get to the point. Just sit down and really drill into the smaller things that you don't get to talk about throughout the year.
Yeah, well, and I think you made a point there that I think is important, and it's not always something that's a focus for people, and that's you don't want the annual review to be a disciplinary setting, right? If you need to correct something, you correct it in the moment, or you correct it really soon after the moment, versus holding on to it and then blindsiding somebody at a review, right? The review is, it's a recap, but it's also, to your point, a plan for going forward, and it's a discussion, and a dialogue, and a learning experience for both parties. And I see it in pockets where it can be leveraged as a disciplinary tool, and I don't think it ever should be, right? There shouldn't be a surprise in that review. That review is okay, what did we do so far? These were your goals that you wanted to achieve. These are the things that you did. These are the things that you didn't do. What do you want to do going forward, and have that dialogue?
For sure. Yeah, for sure.
No, that's great. And I think it's awesome that you do that, and you have a formal process, and it sounds like you involve really the whole shop in it, which is great too.
Yeah, for sure.
So Jeremy, one other thing I wanted to pick your brain on. I've been seeing a lot of stuff lately, and I mean, honestly, from a Reynolds perspective, we're diving headfirst into this too. But a lot of things in artificial intelligence and robotics, especially in the service department, and what can be done there. Have you guys started to dabble in anything? Have you played with anything in that arena yet?
I personally have not. I know there's quite a few of my technicians in the shop that are really involved in that, and they have actually used it. So like we were talking about some of the descriptions that are on warranty repairs, they've used that, and we plugged that into the op codes in Reynolds. So that way they can hit the search bar and choose from whatever it is. So they've got a real professional sounding statement in there. So we've utilized that for primarily that in the shop. I know there's been a few other small little tasks we went after, but I know speaking with your team yesterday, they were saying there's some things in the pipeline that are pretty exciting that that are coming through. So definitely excited to hear a lot more about that.
Yeah, it'll be an interesting next, year, 3 years, 5 years, just and seeing what we can do I think especially in the service department, because service and parts, but at the end of the day, you're selling hours, and there's only so many hours you can sell. That's it. So every minute that's not utilized, right? Every minute that there's a car sitting on a lift or in a bay that's not being worked on, that's just wasted, right? That inventory is gone. You can't resell it. So, there's all these areas where efficiency can improve, and I think there's a lot of opportunity. So I'm excited to see really where we go and how far we can take it from diving into this efficiency, kind of issue, this problem, and maximizing everything we can in the service drive.
Absolutely. Yeah. A lot of good potential there.
Yeah. So Jeremy, I'm trying to think, what else haven't we talked about that we should? I've really enjoyed just kind of chatting. Like I said, we dove right in, and there were so many things I wanted to hit on. I feel like we covered about a million different things, but what haven't I asked you that I should? What haven't we touched on?
Yeah, I mean, the involvement with the schools is huge. And the rotation of the techs once they get into the shop, and again at any capacity, whether they're an intern, a level 4, a level 3, a level 2, rotating through the shop, rotating them with different people, your different team leaders, your different service advisors. They get an opportunity to see new things, different things. An oil change is start to finish in the book written one way, but 60 different techs are going to do it 60 different ways. They're going to take different steps. They're going to set something here as a reminder, do this as a reminder, just little things. And they pick all that up as they go throughout and learn all of it. And I tell them, you're going to create your own brand by the end of this. You're going to pick up all the goods and bads that you don't like out of a process, and you're going to, culminate all that together and find out what works best for you. Because it's not what's best for you is not necessarily best for the next guy. But I found that really successful. And I'll tell you, it's always tough that first time when I rotate somebody, they're like, oh, I'm really enjoying working with so-and-so. And then the next time comes around, they're in my office asking me before, they're like, hey, we're coming up, we're going to move again, right? So they're wanting to move around. So they get excited about it. But no, I think that has been very, very successful. And again, not just the with the technician side of it, the advisor side of it, getting to talk to you different advisors. You're going to find different ways to sell things. And, they may find that something sells well with one advisor, but not with another advisor. Maybe they remembered, hey, this is what they used to say, a speech they used to give or something that they used to use to sell to the customer. So, yeah, I mean, it helps everybody out.
Yeah. How frequently do you rotate?
It's going to be at least probably twice a year. I would say that that I'm trying to rotate. It's not the whole group of them, but I may have 5 people, 10 people that'll rotate around and shuffle around. So, but yeah, it's been very promising, and everybody gets to grow, and they love that. Like I said at the meeting, the bragging rights. Some of the guys will. Team leader gets promoted, or someone gets promoted. Someone's like, I trained him. He's the reason I'm there. And they just, love poking at each other about that. But 2 of my most recent team leaders out here, or one of the most recent actually, was started with me in the car wash and grew up from there. I countless numbers of, again, started either in the car wash, valet, parts, all throughout, and but some of them made it in the shop and have, we've done different rotations with them, but yeah, it's been very successful.
Yeah, that sounds great. Do you think that, or maybe have you experienced that impacts retention in a positive way too, kind of rotating every 6 months or every year for a person? Does that help them almost like revitalize them and bring them back? Does that help with retention?
Yeah, so an important thing when I do that is I sit down and I don't just randomly throw them somewhere when I rotate them around. So there's going to be something, and this is on Reynolds side that I absolutely love. So a big tool that I use is out of advanced service. So I use the upsell analysis out of there. And one of the things that I'm looking for is that specific person's amount of recommendations versus what they're currently closing. Is their advisor a strong closer? Are they not putting a lot of recs on there? And I'm going to try to mix them with somebody and put them on a team that has high recommendations and an advisor that sells good, or vice versa, somebody that's got high but maybe low closing, and they're going to push them to in the other direction. And then before we make that move, at the end, we're going to sit down. All right, here's where you were. Here's where you become. This is what you're going into. This is the person you're taking their spot, and they get a better understanding of it. So when I post those numbers every month out in the shop, as far as what their closing percentage is, the amount of recs per RO, they know what it means, and they look for that, and they like seeing the improvement there, and knowing that they could have made a difference, even if it was a level 3 technician in the shop. When they start recommending something and their advisor's selling it, the other guys are like, well, why am I not doing that? Maybe I just didn't think they'd ever sell it. So it gives everybody opportunity, opens their eyes up to new things.
Yeah. Yeah. How do you post that? Do you have like a big board, or do you print it off, or how do you post all those
Yeah,
results?
I've got a print off and then I email it out to everybody.
Okay.
Yeah, you guys come out here, y'all love taking pictures, but it's really good. I have it all spread out and posted in a few different areas, but yeah, they love seeing it, taking pictures of it and bragging about it. So they see the difference on it. And if they don't, then we'll, if there's something there that's not matching up, we'll try to drill into it and find out why.
Yeah. No, that's great. That's great. All right. Well, Jeremy Reardon, Service Production Manager at Westside Lexus. Again, I really appreciate you joining. This was a fun conversation, and hopefully we can do it again sometime soon.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Appreciate
thanks,
you.
Jeremy.
If y'all need anything, give me a shout.
All right. We'll do.
All right. Thank you.
Well, a huge thank you to Jeremy Reardon. I loved that conversation. I hope you got something out of it. I honestly, I don't know how you couldn't. We kind of talked about a bunch of different stuff in fixed ops, so hopefully you were able to pull a few things. Before we hop off, don't forget you can watch or listen to all episodes of Connected on YouTube, Apple, and Spotify podcasts. And make sure to hit subscribe so you're notified every other week when new episodes are released. Thanks so much, and we'll see you in 2 weeks.